So last week, 98.5 Radio Montreal tried to sell us the confidentiality agreement. And we cannot let that slide. Like society cannot make laws that goes against we the people. But society will always cower behind that's the law, okay? But let's talk about that's the law. So it was the law for black people to sit in the back of the bus. It was the law for people to kick off Gandhi off the train and put him in prison and shoot I don't know how many people that wanted to follow Gandhi. It was the law to torture people at Alcatraz. It was the law to wipe out the natives in America, the Trail of Tears. I can go on and on and on. You know the movie Papillon? Yeah, that was the law too. So anyway, like what happens in the movie The Insider, what happens to the guy, happens not because people know the law, okay? Because that should never have happened to him. First of all, there was a lot of money involved, and forget about books there, okay? The real life is, lawyers want to make money. Everybody wants to make money. That's the bottom line, okay? It's not about the law. So even in normal life, when normal people commit crimes, right? If they don't have a good lawyer, they're going to jail. But if they have a lot of money and the lawyer knows the law, then they're not going to jail most of the time. You know, well, sometimes I mean there's a point of what a lawyer can do, but you know what I mean, right? When the money is involved. So you have people who are better lawyers than others. And it's the same thing with the movie The Insider with Al Pacino. Like, that was not supposed to happen to this guy because, first of all, a corporation is illegal, okay? Some will debate this, but it is illegal. It is a fiction. It doesn't make any sense. And there cannot be any contradictions like that in law. The law has to make sense. The law was made to protect people. So if the corporation was invented, some say it was invented for big projects, Maybe it was invented for big projects, but that's not the way it happened. It happened that the corporation became a tool for criminals, and you can't go after a company because it's a fiction. You know, like, this is weird. So we can't let that slide. If an employer does something wrong, you don't automatically sign an agreement that you can't do nothing about it and you can't talk and you can't say nothing. That doesn't make sense. And that's what's going on in the world today. So if we continue like this, we're going to be in deep trouble. People have to start challenging what doesn't make sense. We can't keep letting people on the radio and on TV rule our lives, you know, like in the movie Network there, you know, like the guy says, shut it off. Well, not just shut it off. These people, they control our life because they keep spitting nonsense all the time on the radio, and the people, they just take that as cash. They don't challenge anything. So we can't let that slide. There is no such thing as a confidentiality agreement when there's a crime committed, okay?